Just a reminder, as usual, let's observe the COVID protocols, put on our mask, stay in our designated areas. Thank you. Honorable members, the only item on the order paper is questions addressed to the ministers in Cluster 4 Economics. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have already wished to pose a supplementary question on, and adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. This was done to facilitate participation of members who are connecting through the sitting. We are connecting the sitting through virtual platform. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officers. And in allocating these opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, among others, has been applied. The first question today is by the Honorable Swart. Question number 459, asked to the Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform, Rural Development. Where is that from? Visual. Mr. Swart, it's not you, I believe. You can't do that. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson, honorable members, and Honorable Swart, thank you very much for your question. The Minister was informed of the MEC by the MECs of Free State and Northern Cape provinces on the disaster of wildfires that has befallen farmers in the 2 provinces in the 3rd week of October 2020, which had dire impact on farmers. Minister is also aware of the collaboration between the provincial governments and farmer organizations to assist affected farmers in addressing the natural disasters. The 2 provinces undertook assessment on the affected areas in order to ascertain the extent of the damage and how they could assist those that are affected. In the Northern Cape province, the wildfires affected were in the Francis Bar district, Winserton, and north of Koopmansfontein areas. The Provincial and District Disaster Management Center intervened immediately, bringing the fires under control. Approximately 43,950 hectares were affected by this fire. The Provincial Department of Agriculture have requested us to utilize, in the meantime, the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Funds and work closely with organized agriculture formations to support farmers with fodder for feeding their animals. In the Free State province, the wildfires affected Lejweleputswa district in the Tokoloho and Tswelopile local municipalities and linked to the surrounding areas of Boshoff, Hertzogville, Wopstad, Bulfontein, and Dalesville, with affected area burning about 100,000 hectares. The Provincial Executive Council last week took a resolution in which the MECs of Agriculture and Finance have been tasked to find resources in order to assist the farmers. The extent of the damage in the present calculation, it's about 15 million. I've been informed that the province will request that the area affected by the wildfires be declared a disaster area in line with the Disaster Management Act, number 57 of 2002, in support of the declaration efforts by COGTA via the Provincial Disaster Center. Government will continue to work with the disaster management centers in all spheres of government to strengthen their awareness on natural disasters as well as the early warning system. So in short, Honorable South, we are intervening and are assisting the farmers that are affected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Your follow-up question, Honorable Swan.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you for your response, and we do wish to express our gratitude to all farmers, farm workers, agribusinesses, grocery stores who continue to ensure food security, particularly during the hard lockdown. And this, despite what we've now seen, the tragic widespread fires in Free State, Northern Cape, as has been indicated by the Minister. And we are grateful, Minister, for the intervention from the provincial government and the agriculture support funds. We are, however, deeply concerned about the allegations that some of these fires were lit on purpose, and share the sentiments of the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, the Chairperson, Honourable Mandela, who expressed disbelief as to why anyone would wish to cause such widespread destruction. We understand that a number of people have been arrested on charges, including public violence, malicious damage, and arson. And it's also deplorable, Honourable Minister, and I'm sure you'll agree, that members of this House have called for the burning of farms. They should also be arrested. Minister, we appreciate what you've said today, and we would ask you just to maybe refer and maybe put more pressure on the Minister of Police to finalize investigations of these allegations. And we also support your call for the declaration of a disaster in these particular areas. I thank you.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
Did I hear Honorable Swart saying members of this House must be arrested? Senzeni.
I think he said that there are members of this House who called for burning of the farms. Those members must be arrested. I'm not sure if he didn't specify, and I'm not going to force him to specify.
Honorable Chair, Honorable House Chair.
I won't mention any
Honorable
names.
House Chair. On a point of order, Honorable House Chair.
Yes, Honorable Ntlangwini.
I think, Honorable Chair, the member that I've just spoke knows what to do. We have been in those seats since 1994 and maybe prior. So he knows what to do and he knows the rules of Parliament. If he sees that are members of Parliament that have called for the burning of farms, he must stop this in the irresponsibleness of raising things like that. He must bring the members into the House in a substantive motion.
Thank you very much. Let me just caution everyone that if you are going to put allegations on members of this House, we all know what should be done. We need that substantive motion. So the honorable member says he's not going to mention names. So as such, maybe honorable member, because you are putting allegations on members, you just have to withdraw that part.
Chairperson, there are criminal charges laid against a member of this House. And that's in the public domain. So I did not mention anyone because I understand the rule that you need to bring a substantive allegation. But it is common knowledge that there is criminal investigation against a particular member. But I said we have called for the incitement.
He must withdraw. He must withdraw. He must withdraw. He knows the rules. He must withdraw.
Of order.
But on your ruling,
I'm addressing your point of order and you interfere.
Chair, on your ruling, I'm prepared to withdraw because you did make a ruling.
Thank you very much. So the statement is withdrawn.
Chair, on the point of order, Chair. Member Wayne Thring here.
Yes, Honorable Thring.
Chair, I think that certainly members of the House who continue to interject while you are passing your ruling need to be called to order. And if they continue to do that, Chair, then they must actually be asked to leave the House. I think it is unacceptable that while you are actually bringing order to the House and passing your ruling, that we have members who feel that they can just interject at will as if they have power over the House and they are the lords of the House when they are not. Thank you, Chair.
Your concern is noted. Thank you. We now move. The Honorable Minister, you were still going to respond to Honorable Swart, and I'm sorry for that.
No, thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. I think what Honorable Swart did was really to advise more than a question, to ask that we talk to the Minister of Police to ensure that the investigations and the arrest of those who are affected is speeded up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next follow-up question will come from the Honorable Matthias.
Thank you very much, House Chair. I'm going to take the question on behalf of Honorable Matthias.
Thank you very much. You may continue, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much. Chair, it is a historical fact that the apartheid government that presided on the process of stealing Black people's land did make significant state investment and subsidies into white farmers. This investment, Chair, have never been reciprocated by farmers, not in the way they treat their workers and not in the way they view the post-1994 government. If you provide any assistance on this farm, Minister, should any government interventions in this sector not be conditional or on clearly identified targets of transformation on these farms and clear proof of good relationship with workers? Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you. The Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mutredi, having taken the question from Honorable Matthias. Having noted what we have raised as it stands, there are no such conditions in terms of the Disaster Management Act that must be followed in assessing and assisting those who have been followed by the disaster. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next follow-up question is Obuya Baba Inkosi Kebekhulu.
Angithokoze sihlalo wenza. Hlonishwa ngqongqoshe. Cishe okuningi ebengibeke ngizokubuza ukuphendulekile ukungenelela komnyango kaCocta enhlelweni zokusiza lapha. Kodwa ke mhlawumbe umuntu mayelandela ngabe umnyango uyibophezele ekuthenini abalimi laba uzobalekelela ngokuthi bathengelwe enye imfuyo noma bazonikezwa nje imali ukuthi babone ukuthi bathenga ini ukuze bekwazi ukuvuselela amaplaza abo. Ngiyathokoza.
The Minister.
Ngiyabonga sihlalo wendlu ehloniphekile. Ngibonge nakunkosi uCebekhulu ngombuzo wakho. Uma senza uhlelo lokulekelela abalimi kakhulukazi, ngingathi nje abalimi kuphela noma yibaphi lapho abasuke behlaselwe inhlekelele. Kunemigudu elandelwayo yokubhekisisa ukuthi ngabe yiziphi izimfuno ezidingekayo ngaleso sikhathi. Kuya ke ngokuthi ikakhulukazi umnyango wezifundazwe uma ukhulumisana nabalimi ikuphi abathi kudingeke ukuthi basize ngako ngaleso sikhathi. Kungaba imfuyo, kungaba ukudla kwemfuyo, kungaba ngabasebenzi emaplazini abalinyalelwe yilokho abalinyalelwe kona kube khona ukusiza njalo njalo. Lokho akwenziwa kumbe isinqumo saloko asithathwa ngumnyango. Kuya ngokuxoxisana nalabo abathintekile nanokuthi umthetho wezenhlekelele ikuphi okuvumelayo, ikuphi ongakwazi ukuvumela. Mangibonge sihlalo.
Sithokoze mhlonishwa. Honorable Briet. FF Plus.
Thank you, Madam House Chair. Minister, commercial as well as emerging farmers in these areas had suffered severe losses prior to the fires due to the prolonged drought. We welcome the provincial as well as the national departments that have intervened and the monies that will be made available. These farmers will not be able to recover the millions of rands of damage caused by these fires on their own without government aid. The sector is also one of the greatest contributors to employment amidst the recession and has shown a positive curve. It is also one of the few sectors that is still showing economic growth within this pandemic. I am, however, of the view, Minister, that the department is going to alienate certain farming communities by merely stating that assistance goes to certain people and that the rest should seek assistance from the land bank or from personal insurance policies. Minister, I therefore ask you, who will these funds that government are availing be, to who will they go? To who will they be? Will our commercial farmers once again be left to fend for themselves? Or Minister, will you be clear that for food security and for South Africa, that the department will also support commercial farmers with the funds available? I thank you.
Before the minister responds, I'm going to ask everybody who is going to do follow-up questions to read Rule 142 fully, because you have minutes within which to ask questions, and the preambles are too long. Without a question being asked already, you find yourself, your time having expired. So please read Rule 42 and plan your questions accordingly, checking the time. Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson, and thanks to Honorable Briet for the question. I must say that the insinuation that government does become prescriptive or rather exclude others on matters of disaster, I don't think that is true. Even on the kind of disaster that had befallen a number of provinces in terms of drought, there was no such exclusion. I was actually one of those who went with the Deputy President to Northern Cape, where we met with farmers, both small and big, black and white, women and men. And there was no such exclusion in terms of the condition. And therefore, it still stands that those farmers who have been affected, doesn't matter whether they're small or big, they will be assisted in terms of the disaster fund. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to the next question asked by the Honorable Mabiletsa to the Minister of Finance. Honorable Minister, the question is question number 460.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister.
No, Honorable Mabiletsa,
Yes.
wait for the minister to respond first. You will come with your follow-up question. Honorable Minister of Finance, are you available on the virtual platform to respond to question 460?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and honorable members. The question has to do with structural reforms. And in order to answer the question, we first must conceptually deal with why structural reforms are necessary. And the answer to that question is because we need to identify the structural binding constraints to economic growth and development. And what we have tried to summarize in the paper towards an economic strategy for South Africa is that we must look at those things which are impeding economic reforms. Let me give you a few examples. One, our delay in issuing spectrum has had a major impact in our communications ability. So therefore, the release of spectrum has become an urgent matter that the government is attending to, because that will also free both business and individuals to be able to communicate and to be able to do business with ease. Number two, let me give an example of the clog up at our ports and harbors. Part of the structural reforms must mean that we must unlock the binding constraints at our ports and harbors to make it easy for goods to flow in and outside of South Africa. This means, amongst other things, we must attend to those things which are a difficulty for us because of the way Portnet is structured, for example. And so that the tariff structure is also changed and improved to make, as I said, easy flow of business, goods in and out of the country at a price that is achievable. We also make reference to the need to modernize the whole networked industry set of issues to make sure that we we can really make things move quicker in the economy, make private enterprise to function properly, make it possible for private enterprise to access finance, to be in a position to go around with their businesses. We talk about lowering the barriers to entry in businesses. It's a major structural issue that we must confront and deal with. We talk about supporting labor-intensive industries, such as tourism and agriculture, which are very key in getting the economy to function very well. We talk about the need to break the barriers for the entry into business by the previously excluded people in the economy. We talk about really the building of an education and skills system that is suited for the current economy in which we work. We talk about the much talked about beneficiation of raw materials in our country as part of the process of economic development. But at the center of all of this is removing all these barriers to entry, removing all these binding constraints, which have got a race and class dimension to them for us to be able to proceed with the programs that we want. I thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, the Honorable the Minister. Honorable Mabileto, Kiona Nagoi.
House Chair. Minister, in your speech, you table the medium-term budget policy statement. You alluded to an initiative called Operation Vulindlela, led by Deputy Minister Masondo, which you said is a critical coordination tool to unlock and fast-track implementation of the structural economic reform agenda. You also said that this initiative will draw an expertise and capacity of the public. Yes. Okay. How will Operation Vulindlela work in practice, given the current fiscal and capacity challenges in the public service end? What will be the relationship, if any, between Operation Vulindlela and the district development model? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable the Minister.
So, Madam Chair, thank you very much to Honorable Mabiletsa for the question. So, government is a very big thing, and there are lots of blockages that we also find in government. Now, we must understand that the structural reforms are not just a matter of the government. They're a matter of the government working together with labor, private enterprise, and community organizations, cooperatives, and everybody else, the economic agents, working in tandem to achieve a common objective, that is economic growth, employment, and redistribution. So therefore, we conceptualize the idea of Operation Vulindlela, which means, Operation Open the Way, to unblock the blockages which might be there in the government, but also in the private sector. And I therefore asked Deputy Minister Dr. Masondo to lead the process of coordinating, talking with government departments, talking with the private sector, with the trades union movement, and all other relevant parties, so that we identify all these blockages, unlock them in order to allow us to unleash the economic energy needed for our country. So he's already established the unit, not in its full capacity, but he has got Dr. Sean Phillips there to start coordinating everything, speaking to all government departments, speaking to the private sector, as I mentioned, and so on, to get things moving. And fortunately, along the way, the president announced the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. So Operation Vulindlela is going to work hand in glove with the presidency to unlock all these blockages that might take place. The reason why the presidency must come into the picture is because the president has an overarching role, and he can help us in unlocking the blockages that might be there. It's very important that the presidency is involved to support and work with Operation Vulindlela in this process. It's a very important initiative so that we can all work together in order to drive the economic recovery and development program in our society. But at the center of it is unlocking what I call the structural impediments or binding constraints in the economy. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder to members of the executive who will be responding to questions. Although the chair presiding can use her own, discretion to make sure that the answer is heard by everybody and allow you to continue. Just respect that you have 2 minutes to respond to supplementary questions. Thank you. We now go to the second follow-up question from Honorable Hill Lewis.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Minister, for the answer that you've given. Minister, over the last few years, you've made it absolutely clear that part of the economic reform agenda is getting state-owned entities under control and stopping the endless bailouts. Just as recently as last year's budget speech, you said that South African Airways is unlikely to ever generate sufficient cash to keep flying in its current form, and that we must liberate the fiscus from the sword of Damocles. Those are your words. In the earlier 2019 main budget speech, you said that the bailouts have to stop no more. Again, your own words. So my simple question is, do you think that your bailout 10.5 billion rand for South African Airways announced last week in your medium-term budget is consistent with the case that you have made over the last few years and with the government's economic reform agenda? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much to Honorable Hill Lewis for that question. The issue about South African Airways is a very difficult one. Both politically and financially. And we have sought to approach the matter in a balanced way. I refuse the argument that the 10.5 billion rand that has been allocated in the second appropriations adjustment bill is a bailout. It is not a bailout. If you go into the components of the 10.5 billion, you'll notice that this is meant for the business rescue practitioners plan for the restructured airline. It's not the same old South African Airways, so it's not a bailout at all. That's the first point. The second point is this government has a number of state-owned enterprises. And unless we do something different with them, we have an obligation to ensure that they keep running, but they do not suck public finances which are there. So in my view, we do need a thorough conversation about the restructuring of state-owned enterprises, keep those which are functional, and get rid of those which are not functional, because they can be a drain on the economy, and we don't want that. We want them to be contributing towards economic success and growth in our economy. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mentor.
Thank you, House Chair. Last year, Minister, you published a paper titled Economic Transformation, Inclusive Growth and Competitiveness Towards an Economic Strategy for South Africa, which presented exactly the Washington-sponsored ideas of privatization and austerity measures. Was the paper adopted by Cabinet? If yes, when was that? And the structural reforms you spoke about during the medium-term budget policy statement,
are they in any way related to what you have presented in the Treasury paper? And if they are related, can you tell us any successful stories here in South Africa on both the documents you have presented as some form of a resolution to our economic pressures? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. And thank you very much to the Honorable Mentor for the supplementary question. The first part, has Cabinet adopted the document towards an economic strategy? The answer is yes. On which date, I can't remember. I'll have to go to the Cabinet minutes to find that. We can provide that in addition to that. Thirdly, the issue about whether this is a Washington consensus-sponsored approach is in the eye of the beholder. An honorable Mente might have her own approach, but she can't really disagree with us when we say we need to reform the networked industries, that we need to expand and modernize the Durban harbor, that we need to construct the other small harbors we're going to have around South Africa, that we must get heavy freight away from the roads to the railways, which presupposes that we must fix the railways as well. She cannot disagree that we must release spectrum for the information and communications technology and the fourth industrial revolution. She definitely cannot disagree that we need to make sure that our transport and logistics system functions very well in the country. It's got nothing to do with Washington. This is basic macroeconomic logic. We should help to unleash the economy and remove the structural impediments that I spoke about. Thank you very much.
Nakensa. Honorable Vessels.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, most of the blockages and difficulties obstructing the economic activity and also investment in South Africa are caused by failed policies and policy uncertainty. Now the question, Minister, is, whilst there have been many plans and projects such as Back to Basics, which also were aimed at actually addressing a lot of the shortcomings and getting our municipalities working, for instance, will these operations and projects to get structural reforms going work in an environment where there is failed policies such as expropriation without compensation and other policy directions which have not worked anywhere else in the world? And Minister, is it not then so that the biggest structural reform needed in this country is a new government and the ANC out of government? I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Well, I'm the Minister of Finance, and my principal duties really don't involve forcible change of governments or anything like that. What I know is that the ANC has been elected by the majority of South Africans, and therefore the majority of South Africans have confidence in the African National Congress. And so we will continue to implement the policies of the African National Congress. If the Freedom Front Plus wants to be the government, then they must go and convince the electorate and win the votes. For as it is now, they have to live with the fact that the African National Congress is a majority party in the government, in parliament, and by that very fact, ipso facto, they are the government of the day. Now, I agree that there are many structural impediments that we must deal with, and let's focus on those together. I had the last questions relating to farmers. In my view, we continue to support both black and white farmers, commercial and non-commercial farmers. It is our duty as the government to support agriculture and get things going. And wherever there are impediments in agriculture, in manufacturing, in mining, we must deal with those in order to get the economy to function effectively. But let us not run away from a fact that the current ownership structure of the economy is desirous of fundamental change in order to integrate all South Africans into the mainstream of the economy in mining, manufacturing, agriculture, banking, finance, insurance, and also the whole wholesale trade, retail trade. Let's not run away from that fact, because if we do, we are not making a good contribution towards the creation of a non-racial South Africa. And I'll urge the Freedom Front Plus in particular to be very careful that they do not seem to be protecting the past, but must walk along with us in building this future that we want. And these structural reforms I'm talking about are going to benefit all South Africans, black and white, irrespective of whether they live in the Free State, in the Northern Cape, or in Limpopo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We now move to the next question, which is question number 498, asked to the Minister of Communication by the Honorable Shaik Imam.
Thank you so much, Honorable.
Continue, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you to Honorable Sheikh for the question that he has asked. Indeed, through the post office, we have engaged Telkom in order to supply and refresh the depleted branch hardware. Some of the challenges that are experienced by the post office relate to the IT equipment that is there, and this is what they are busy trying to focus on in terms of improving on systems that are in place. And of course, we're aware that honorable members are concerned also about the long queues that are there in the post office, especially in relation to the SRD 350. I am pleased to inform all honorable members and anybody who's affected by this system. We are working with the post office, SASSA and Postbank in order to make sure we address the cash planning and process related challenges. We have since also introduced a ticketing system that's meant to make sure that as they are in their queues, we're able to separate those that are coming for vehicle licensing, for example, and others are coming for SRD clients. We do hope that as the time goes on, this will improve. And of course, we are working again with the Post Bank in developing the digital SRD disbursement platform, and we have identified a potential solution to the challenges, especially on the social relief or distress grants in the country. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable Sheikh, ma'am.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Minister, I'm not satisfied with the explanation you're giving, and I'll tell you why I'm saying this. The problem that you're sitting with is not only a South African Post Office problem. Your problem is created by the Department of Transport with the renewal of licenses. Your problem is caused by the Department of Labor, particularly when you talk about the TERS and social development as well. Now, let me tell you, Minister, there are queues of literally hundreds of people that are following in the rain, in the sun, no food, nothing. And what is worse, more often than not, most of them get turned away at the end of the day. Rather, can we not have a system that if there's 500 people in the queue, and you can only accommodate 100 people for the day, give some numbers to the others so that they can come back the next day. What is happening now, they have to come there every day and be turned away for 4, 5, 6, 10 days at a time. But if you put a system, and I know that it is not entirely the fault of the post office, but can you at least put a system? I've spoken to your CEO, who's promised to deal with the matter. Can you put a system so if there's 500 people, 150 will take, the other 350 will get a number for the next day, 150, then another 150 for the following day. Anybody comes after that will follow. They don't have to stand there for the entire day, not be served, go back and come back and follow those people. The money they spend is more than what they actually get.
Thank you, Honorable Sheikh Imam. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you so much, Honorable Imam. As I said in my response earlier, that you are attending to our IT system. Yes, it is correct that we're working with different departments, for example, on the motor vehicle licensing that belongs to transport. But the issue goes back to the integration of systems, which is why I said we are hopeful that once we finalize all those upgrades and integration of systems, we'll be able to resolve the challenges that we are faced with. We are appreciative of the fact that we have not been able to communicate effectively in terms of explaining the process, as currently we have one laptop, one desktop from transport in each post office, and of course a different system. And this is why now, earlier I mentioned that we are working towards those. I may not have mentioned the Department of Transport, but we are working with them, including the Department of Labor, to say how do we, as government, integrate our systems so that when one comes for a particular service, that finds expression and we do not have to be turning people away. That was what I meant. I apologize if it didn't come out clearly, Honorable Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Honorable Mpambo.
I will be taking the question, Chairperson. Honorable Madokwe.
Thank you. Continue, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, the post office has a wide network of offices. It is very difficult to find a municipality without some form of post office infrastructure. The problem is, however, that government departments, state-owned companies, and municipalities do not use services of the post office. Instead, they use companies that have no interest in long-term development of this country, either in terms of jobs or to reduce inequality. To rebuild and strengthen the post office, should we not further capacitate it and make it compulsory for government departments, state-owned companies, and municipalities to use post office services and not go on tender for services already offered by the post office?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for that question and advice. And of course, it is government's commitment to make sure that they utilize the post office in the services that we're talking about. But currently, as I said, we are experiencing capacity challenges, which are mainly due to not only systems, but also training of our personnel. And once we have those in place, we're then able boldly so to come and say, government, there's no need for you to go to the private sector. Of course, we can have private sector in areas where it complements the work that we do. Even the commercial ones that we're talking about, and the private ones, they do not go to the rural areas. They take everything when it's supposed to go to the township or the rural areas. It becomes the burden of the post office. And this is what we are trying to address in the board's STP, the strategic turnover program that they are busy with. So we are working hand in hand with the board to make sure that we finalize the strategy, and therefore we build the capacity, and then we come and reclaim our space as it is supposed to happen. Government supports all state-owned entities, but of course, as I said, we're also looking at the issue of capacity that has to be addressed. And in the meantime, until we get there, we really have to get our house in order. And we urge all, not just government, but also private and ordinary citizens, to make use of the post office as it renders most of the services. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Minister, speaking of post office services and systems, post office staff are being mistreated, abused, and even harassed by some beneficiaries of especially the 350 Rand SRD grant, who grow impatient due to, among other reasons, inefficiencies in the system, such as funds from SASSA not being readily available, limitations on the number of beneficiaries who can be helped per day, a lack of proper facilities, a lack of staff, etc., which you yourself has alluded to in your answer. How will the Post Office address this threat to Post Office staff safety and security, taking into account that there are few to no security services and infrastructure at post offices, and that this makes for very poor working conditions which contravene relevant labour and workplace legislation? I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and thank you to the Honourable Member for that question. Of course, we are experiencing lots of challenges in relation to the rollout of SRD. And a case in point is what the Honorable Member makes reference to in terms of the security of our personnel, which is why you've seen both the Minister of Social Development and myself doing unannounced visits in order to understand what are these challenges. But indeed, key at the center is the fact that we need to improve on our security, which is something we've relayed to the board that they must look at, because we may be saying the SRD is a short-term intervention, but when it happens, nobody thinks about that, including the number of personnel that we have, which is why we said we appreciate that government is making interventions and we have the existence or the footprint in all the areas where people can come and collect their monies from. But then these other issues we didn't think about in terms of beefing up our security. We tried in other areas, but the issues we really have to move towards electronic systems, as currently we've been providing physical security that I won't deal much, as we know that also puts our personnel at risk of the hijackers. We are trying again, as I said, to work on a digital solution with social development and SASSA to say, how can we make sure that we minimize the people that come into post office directly, and also we limit the access to the cash, because what attracts all these criminals is the cash that we distribute or disperse in our post offices. So we're trying to make interventions to say, how can we make sure that people are able to get their money without them coming physically to the post office? Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Raleboga mhlonishwa. Ilunga elihloniphekileko uMamthembu. Irage ma. Honorable Mthembu. Is she only?
Okay. Honorable Kubeka.
Okay, Honorable.
Can I take that question of Honorable Mamthembu? I'm sure the challenge of network there because he's in.
I'm going to allow you, Honorable Member.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, actually, I would like just to ask to the Minister to say, what causes the long queues in the post office, especially in this one of KZN in the Durban region? Can you just clarify to say, actually, what did you pick up there? Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Mhlale ngaphambili enye yengxaki esithe sazibona kwiphondo laKwaZulu-Natal ukuba sineeposti ezithe zatsha, umzekelo ukuba ndithetha nge-Mount Edgecombe ethe yatsha, ngoku kwanyanzeleka sithathe abantu sibase kwezinye iposti ePhoenix umzekelo, khona eThongathi naseVerulam. Loo nto ithetha ukuthi ke ngoku iposti ifumana amanani angaphezulu kwesiqhelo la ibiwa service. Zezi zinto ke sithi besingakhange sizibone uba zingenzeka kuba njengoba abahlali betoyitoya xa bengonelisekanga betshisa ii-buildings, inemiphumela ethi ilidele ekubeni koba abanye abantu babe banokufa ngenxa yezifo abanazo xa beme ekhwini. Kodwa ke njengoba besenditshilo, inzame siyazama into yokuba maqiniseke into yoba sifaka ii-interim post offices kwi-shopping centers khona kuba kwezinye iiposti ebesizisebenzisa besirenta kuzo, so sithatha abantu sibabuyisela kwezi buildings sizionayo eziyi-post office. Nalapho ithi ke ngoku uba ngaba sijonge i-distance funeka siprovide i-interim solution, and the post office is literally addressing those as we speak. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
We move, honorable members, to question 462, asked by the Honorable Nkosi Mandela to the Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. The Honorable Minister.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Somlomo, ngizibongele nakumalunga alendlu yesishayamthetho. Ibongeke lunga elihloniphekile ophinde ube usihlalo wekomiti lami, Inkosi Mandela. Impela lo mbuzo owubuzayo mayelana nokuguquka nokuhlela kabusha ukuthuthukiswa kwezomnotho ngoba sibhekene nje nalolu bhubhane lika-COVID ekumemezele ekugcineleni kamongameli ubaba uCyril Matamela Ramaphosa ushilo ukuthi kuzobaleka ukuthi sibheke kakhulukazi lezo zinhlaka zomnotho ezingakwazi ukuthi sisize la isimo sethu no. Uyabuza ke lunga ehloniphekile ukuthi ngabe ngokwami ukubona njengongqongqoshe ngabe kubaleke kangakanani ukusheshisa ukulungisa nokuhlengahlengiswa indaba zomhlaba ukuze sikwazi ukuthi sibe negalelo kwezomnotho kanye futhi nokuguqula kwesimo selizwe lakithi. Hayi mangisho indaba ezithi ukuthi ngeke impela sithi akubalulekanga, kubaluleke kakhulu ngoba siyazi ukuthi umhlaba uyisizinda sako konke esikwenzayo ukuze sikwazi ukuphumelela. Uma ukhuluma ngezezimbiwa zenziwe emhlabeni, uma ukhuluma ngezokulima zenziwe emhlabeni, uma ukhuluma ngezimboni zakhiwe emhlabeni, uma ukhuluma ngezindlu zethu zokuhlala njalo njalo konke kusuka la kwezomhlaba. Siyazi ke ukuthi ngokungalingani ngaphambili kwathi abaningi balelizwe abampisholo ekakhulukazi abazange bathole ukuthi bakwazi ukuba negalelo ngenxa yokuthi babe ngenawo umhlaba wokwazi ukuthi bazilungiselele kuwo. Yikho-ke uhulumeni ethi naye uzozama ukusheshisa lo hlelo lokuhlengahlengisa kwezomhlaba. Ngikhuluma nje emavikini adlule simemezele ukuthi uhulumeni uzonikezela umhlaba obusezandleni zakhe kubantu bakithi. Siqhubeka-ke singamanga, sibheka futhi nokuxazululwa kwezinkinga ikakhulukazi lapha ku-restitution. Kubalulekile-ke lokho malunga ahloniphekile nakubantu bakithi eNingizimu Afrika ukuthi kwenziwe ngokushesha ngoba siyazi ukuthi uma kukhona ukavisisani mayelana nokulungiswa kwalesi simo kungaba khona ingxubakaxaka esixakayo kweli lizwe lakithi. Sinelungelo kumbe futhi sinomsebenzi kumbe uxanduvo olusibhekile siyisizwe ukuthi sikulungise lokhu. Uyabuza-ke futhi lunga ehloniphekile ukuthi ngabe umgomo wezomhlaba uyaziwa yini ngamazwe angaphandle ikakhulukazi labo abazimisele ukutshala izimali. Yebo uyaziwa. Uma sibheka nje umsebenzi owenziwa ngama-ambassadors ethu lapha yaphesheya njalo njalo nathi masihlangana nabanye kwezi zindawo siyakhuluma ngokuthi isimo sethu sezomhlaba nomthetho kanye nomthetho sisekelo umi kanjani. Kodwa mangikusho-ke sengigcina inkinga esinayo abanye bethu siye sihambe sikhulume kabi ngalelizwe, sikhulume sengathi kukhona ukungezwani, ingathi uhulumeni usefuna ukuthatha umhlaba ngendluzula ngokungahambisani komthetho sisekelo njalo njalo. Sikhuluma amampunge ngoba-ke sinezimali sokuthi sigibela amabhanoyi siyofafaza lamanga abese yaxaka-ke ngoba abantu abangaphandle babese besibuka njengabantu ongathi akufanele bazotshala izimali zethu la. Mina engingakusho nje kithi sonke asiyeke ukugxibha sikhulume kabi ngezwe lakithi noma ngabe asizwani ngembono noma ngabe singabezopolitiki ngokuhlukana, kodwa masikhumbule ukuthi singabemi baleli sonke. Akekho la nizoya khona ngoba nalaba babevela phesheya omzala baba basabazi nanokuthi babevela pha basakhumbuli. Ngiyabonga.
Siyathokoza mhlonishwa. Ndaba ezithi.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Minister, what are the linkages between government programs to the released state land as a means to accelerating land reform and the economic reconstruction and recovery program? And how will these plans enhance farmer development and support to beneficiaries of release of state land to be allocated? And lastly, where there are investors participating in land reform, what role does the minister envisage them to play, and how will you ensure that the intended land reform beneficiaries are active participants in land reform initiatives? I thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Mhlonishwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair, and thank you very much, Honorable Mandela, for that follow-up question. Indeed, there are linkages in terms of the release of state land and continuous programs of land reform that seek to give ownership as well as use for those who would like to participate in agricultural development as well as other forms of development. As you know, that our land reform is not only about agriculture, but it's also about other areas of development, such as creation of industries, also human settlement. So indeed, there is a linkage, because where people have got assets to be able to utilize for economic growth, land is one such important asset that is important for any development. You also want to know what is it that government will do in order to support those farmers who would have benefited from government's land release program. You'd recall that last year, when President announced in this House on the release, actually early this year, in February, in his State of the Nation address, he indicated that those who would receive allocation of state land from government would actually be given training, but also will be given necessary support in terms of post-settlement to be able to utilize that land productively. Because land is just but one instrument. The rest is about how that land is used productively. And this is our commitment that we're making. We are saying, what is it that, how do we see the role of investors in this process? Indeed, as government, we have appreciated that there's a need of partnership, working together with private investors in order to ensure that we can improve our economic participation for those who have been historically at disadvantage. I just want to say that, for instance, if you look at some of the land reform programs, such as restitution, in areas where we're working together with Minister Creasy, where people had received land in the Kruger Park, for instance, you have got both government as well as private sector who are participating with the communities that have received that land so that it is used productively. There have been instances, which we must admit, where such partnerships have not worked at best on behalf of those communities. And as government, we are intervening on those areas and also plead that where investors come and participate working with our communities, it's important that we do so in a manner that improves the capability of those who had been given such assets. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Ramon Twedge. Honorable Montwedi. EFF.
Hello, Chair.
Honorable Chair.
Hello, Chair.
Yes, please continue and ask your follow-up question. Honorable Montwedi, we wait.
Thank you very much. Am I audible, Chair?
Yeah, tswela pele ra. Re go utlwa sentle hela.
Am I audible? Am I audible, Chair?
Re go utlwa sentle ra.
Oh, sorry. Minister, maybe the problem is that the government has no clearly identifiable policy on land redistribution. From the land redistribution for agricultural development to the settlement and land acquisition grant, from the proactive land acquisition grant to the state land disposal policy. The mess of that is land restitution is not even worth a mention. The reality is that all these programs have not developed a layer of black players in the agricultural sector, and they have not even dented the control whites have in the industry. What new approach will your department take post-COVID to accelerate redistribution of land back to its rightful owners, the Black people, and ensure they participate more meaningfully in agriculture? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair, as well as Honorable Member Montreal, I don't think it would be correct to say there is no policy. What we can talk about is that maybe there are policy gaps, but to say there is no policy, that cannot be correct. Secondly, it would also not be correct to say there are no Black farmers that are successful, because there are. They may not be at scale in the number that we would all want it to be. We can also talk about the fact that maybe we don't yet have the majority of Black farmers in terms of their contribution to the market share of agriculture in the different commodities. Yes, we can agree to that, but it doesn't mean they are not. Obviously, one of the things that government has done in setting up the Interministerial Committee on Land is to ensure that there's coordination in the way in which we address the issues of land reform, given the different needs. Secondly, as government, we've committed ourselves through programs such as the ones that we have developed to support farmers, not only emerging farmers, but all the farmers, issues of market access, issues of finance, issues of research and technology, which can make our farmers to be successful. So those matters are considered, and in our programs, we are working on those to ensure that we address the needs that are there for our farming sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mhlonishwa Mbambama.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Minister, in the National Development Plan, agriculture was earmarked as one of the sectors that would create jobs in South Africa. In the new Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, the promotion of investment in the agricultural sector is also identified amongst others. In light of the above, Honorable Minister, how do you see the impact of the present untenable climate of weekly brutal and horrific farm attacks and murders on investor confidence, especially with the president being on record on the international stage, stating that there are no farm murders and land grabs in South Africa? Thank you.
Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. With respect to the issue of the farm attacks, or rural safety, as I would like to call it, because indeed, those who are affected when there are attacks in our rural communities are farmers, farm workers, farm dwellers, all of whose lives are equally important to us as government and also to the citizens of our country. And I don't think it would be correct to isolate one community amongst the rest. And we've been on record as government to say any attacks on our community, any crime committed among the members of society is not acceptable. In the farming areas particularly, Minister of Police have been working with farmers' organizations to make sure that we can actually deal with the issues of tension that sometimes are underlying issues that causes violent crimes in those communities. Secondly, Minister of Police working with farming organizations have ensured that plans are put in place to make sure that they speedy arrest where such problems have happened. And we've seen a lot of people who have been arrested and brought to our courts to dealing with these issues of farm murder. And this is what I was raising when I was responding in Xhosa to Honorable Mandela, that part of the challenge that we have as a country is that at times in dealing with our problems, we actually go outside of the country and create an impression that it is doom and gloom. South Africa is such a violent society, it can't be livable. And I think we work against ourselves, because where there are challenges, if we think there are gaps, it is our responsibility to work and partner with government to address those problems instead of speaking ill of our own country, because the ripple effect, it's on all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Nkosi Cebekulu.
Ngithokoze sihlalo wendlu nethuba hlonishwa ngqongqoshe. Usukhulume wendlala ngomgomo wokulekelela kwezolimo, kakhulukazi iso lomnyango libuka kubalimi abahwebayo, abalimi abakhulu. Ngisukuma-ke nokuthi mhlonishwa, ngabe uma ubuka lo mgomo womnyango kukhona nokuhlinzekela ukusiza imiphakathi esemakhaya le engenamandla okulima kodwa enawo umhlabathi ovundile nonothile ukuba ibingasizwa leyo mphakathi esemakhaya ikwazi ukuvuselela amasimu ilime ukuze kube khona ukudla okwaneleyo komphakathi singabi nabo abantu abakhangezayo umhlabathi ukhona inkinga kube ukuthi nje imishini yokusebenza ayikho emakhaya ukuthi basizakala abantu kunabantu abanogandaganda emakhaya mangabe ngisibonelo ongabe umnyango mhlawumbe ungena ezivumelwaneni nabo ukuthi belekelele ukulima ukusiza labo bantu amasimu avuseleleke abantu bekwazi ukutshala ukudla bekwazi ukuphila ngaphandle bancike ekuthenini bayofunza okugcina bese ukuthi-ke kwabona amasimu avulekileyo banokuthi balime ngokwanelisayo bephumelela futhi hambe bodayisa nabo kwimiphakathi abakhele nayo emakhaya umnyango ukhona ithuba oluvulile ukuthi ngomgomo wawo usize lapho Ngiyathokoza.
Mhlonishwa.
Ngiyabonga Somlomo ngibonge nakundaba ezitha inkosi uCebekhulu. Impela umnyango ikakhulukazi ezifundazweni uyasebenzisana nabalimi abasafufusa kanye nalabo balimi abasezindaweni zamakhosi ukuthi babanike izinsiza mhlambe kungenzeka ke ukuthi lezo zinsiza azanelanga uma sibheka nje kulolu bhubhane lwe-COVID ezinye zezinto umnyango owazenza kwakubhekisisa ikakhulukazi ukuthi sibalekelela kanjani abalimi abancane ezindaweni ezisemakhaya kanye nalabo mhlambe abanezindawo zabo abazithengele zona abasafufusayo. Ngiphinda nje umongameli uthe uma ekhuluma kulendlu wabeka ukuthi ezinye zezinto azibalile ukuthi kufanele silekelele kona ukuthi kube khona nokudla ukulekelela ikakhulukazi labalimi abasafufusayo ngolika George phecelezi kuthiwa ama-subsistence farmers. Kumanje nje siphezu kwalolo hlelo esibhekene nokuthi mhlambe liyosiza abalimi abasafufusayo ababalela ku-74,000. Besisebenza futhi ne-Solidarity Fund nayo ehlangene nendlu yobukhosi ibhekisana ukuthi ingafaka kanjani igalelo ekulekeleleni labo balimi abasafufusayo ezindaweni ezingaphansi kwamakhosi. Angisho-ke mphathisi sihlalo kanye nenkosi uCebekhulu ukuthi siyazinika izinsiza ngingakhuluma nje uma ngizobeka lapha kunkosi uChiliza le KwaZulu Natal sike sasebenzisana naye simlekelela ukuthi labo bomama asebesezingeni lokukhiqiza ukuthi bakwazi ukuyisa izinto zabo emakethe balekelelwa kanjani ikakhulukazi ukuthi izinto zabo zifike zisesesimeni esiyiso. Ngingabala futhi uma ubheka endaweni kaCentane la iWiphold esiyeke nje ukuthi ilime kuphela kodwa isifake ngisho ama-silos ukuthi labo balimi abalima ezindaweni zamakhosi lapha kuCentane abalima ummbila ukwazi ukuthi ugcineke kahle ukuze uye ezimakethe. Yebo kuningi esingaqhubeka sikwenze kodwa ngiyathemba ukuthi umnyango ikakhulukazi kazwelonke kanye nowesifundazwe usebenzisana siyokwazi ukuthi sibhekane nalesi simo sabalimi abasafufusayo abangaphansi kwezindawo zamakhosi. Mangisibongela.
Sithokoze khulu kwamambala. We now move to question 482, asked by the Honorable Milam to the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy. Honorable Mantashe, are you on the line?
Thank you very much, House Speaker, Cabinet members, my colleagues, and...
No, I was just saying new title, Minister. Thank you. You may proceed.
Yes. The question asked by Honorable Milam is quite an old and complex case that I found in the department. We've invested energy and resources in following up this case. It is now alive, it is in the courts. What many people don't remember is that both the strategic stock and the money are with the department. So as we deal with this case, the money is with us, the stock is in our storage in Saldanha. What we have agreed to do is to take a more systematic approach in dealing with the problem. We agreed that the logical starting point is to settle the main case first. That is clear the question of the stock, settle it, and once we have settled it, which is now a case which is in court, already we have an agreement with one party, two other parties are awaiting now the court verdict on the issue. And once we have done that, we were able to discover in the affidavits dealing with the main case, new people were involved in actually transgressing the law in selling of the stock. Many of them who themselves are now found. And the next phase will be taking up the individual cases, which is the key point of the case. Once the criminal charges have been laid and the law enforcement agencies, the Hawks, have been engaged and are busy with the investigation. To ensure that there is traction, we continue to work closely and cooperate with the Hawks in their criminal investigation. Now, the question of disciplinary cases in the department is an issue that will follow once we finish the main case, as in the affidavits, new people who are still with the department are beginning to be revealed to be culprits in this case. Then we're preparing for those cases. But what we agreed not to do is to be haphazard in dealing with a complex case like this one. That's why we took this approach. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Miller.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Minister, in August this year, President Ramaphosa wrote a letter to the ANC in which he described the ANC as accused number one when it came to corruption. He said, and I quote, "People who fail to give an acceptable explanation or to voluntarily step down while they face disciplinary, investigative, or prosecutorial procedures should be summarily suspended," end quote. I now ask you, in your capacity as Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy and as ANC Chairperson, what steps will you take to have Mrs. Tina Joemat-Pettersson, who was the former Minister of Energy, removed from her position as chairperson of one of the portfolio committees tasked with overseeing corruption investigations, namely the Portfolio Committee on Police, given her role in the corrupt and dishonest manner in which our strategic fuel reserve was sold from under our very noses? Thank you.
Honorable Khadebe Beki, please. Honorable Khadebe, I can't hear you. Can you raise your point of order? Try again.
Chair, can I take it?
Okay. Honorable Khadebe, we are unable to hear you. The chief. Honorable Khadebe, we are unable to hear you. You break. Please mute. Can we allow the chief whip to take the point of order on your behalf? We can't hear you. Breaking terribly. Terribly, ma'am. Chief whip.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. House Chair, the point of order is the Honorable Member is asking the Honorable Minister on his capacity as a chairperson of the ANC, and that is out of order. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I heard that very clearly. He said as the chairperson of the ANC. Let me just remind the members that we are asking members of the executive questions today. And I will allow the Honorable Mantashe to respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson and Honorable members. My first answer is, I think Honorable Melam is stretching his luck to the limit in trying to exploit a situation using quotation of what the president said in talking to the ANC. That ANC is accused number one, and many people who are in the list of accused in this case are not ANC members. Now, if he has a list of ANC members which he wants to put in this case, he must be free to approach the Hawks and say there's this accused number two that you have left, and then add the names. At this point in time, we're not at that stage. We're dealing with the question of strategic stock. We want to settle that case, then deal with the individual cases, internally and externally. If any member of the ANC appears on that list, at that point, will invoke the policies of the ANC and the state will take its course. So I hear the question that you can't ask me a question as a member of the ANC. It's just opportunistic approach from Melam, the DA member, that if he cannot put the sword in the kidney of the ANC, he will not feel satisfied. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Muruti Mishra.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for your reply. And the ACDP welcomes the deal that has been struck to reverse the unlawful 2015 sale of South Africa's crude oil reserves. And we are aware, Minister, that you have tabled a report before the board of the Central Energy Fund. My question to you, sir, is whether the report you tabled covers reasons why this strategic crude oil reserve was sold at a discounted price of $28 per barrel, when at the time the market rate was about 38 US dollars. And that the report does mention from this transaction. Thank you.
You were cutting somewhere. I'm not sure if the minister had everything, but I will give him the opportunity to respond.
No, I had the Honorable Reverend Minister.
Okay, continue.
Let's correct the facts first. I don't report to SAF. SAF reports to me. I've never tabled a report to SAF. The officials of SFF, which is a subsidiary of SAF, should have reported to SAF, not me. So the details that you are asking about the report to SAF, I'm a wrong person to ask that. SFF is driving the process in this case. And they are reporting regularly to both SAF and to my office. And the report that we received is progress that is being made on this case. That's why I can confidently say the deal that has been reached with Glencore. The other two parties have not accepted the deal. They opted rather to wait for the court verdict on this matter. The arguments are complete. We're waiting for the verdict. Once that has happened, then we'll continue and settle the issue of the strategic stock, and then there will be no issue of strategic stock. What will be left now will be to pursue individuals who were culprits in this deal. That's where it is.
The next follow-up question will come from the Honorable Madokwe. Honorable members, before she asked the question, I saw your faces when she asked the first question. Everybody did not recognize. I'm informed she's a sworn-in member of this House, replacing Honorable Getty. Thank you, Mama Dokwe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, having noted one of your responses to one of the previous speakers, I think it is very important to stress that the most tragic thing about the sale of our strategic fuel reserves is that your predecessor, Ms. Tina Jumat Peterson, lied to this House and said there was no sale of these strategic fuel reserves, but merely a rotation. Have you done any internal investigations that would warrant opening charges of corruption against Ms. Jumat Peterson? If not, why does your department only hold officials and not politicians or political deployees accountable? Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister.
I can say that members of the opposition are very keen to nail down Tina Jumat Peterson. The investigation don't go that way. You don't pin down people you don't like and leave others. That's why our actual process is, let's settle the main case, then deal with the individual people who appear in the report that we're having. And it may include political activists and officials, but the details of that report show me how vulnerable actual political executives are in some of these issues. I'm not defending Tina Peterson, Jumat Peterson. I'm just giving you the reality of issues that in some instances, cabinet members are vulnerable in the sense that things are executed at a particular level and exclude the political activists. But in this case, once we finish the main case, we'll go to the details of the individuals. If Tina Jumat Peterson's name is in the list of people who are culprits, we're not going to leave her out. So we're not pursuing officials and leave political anybody. There is no officials that we've pursued up to now because we're approaching this in a particular systematic way. And officials are there, then there will be issues that reflect the role played by political leaders, and that will not be exempted. We'll deal with it frontally.
Thank you very much. Before I proceed to Honorable Mahlaule, let me just advise the new member that saying a member of this house has lied is unparliamentary. Please, next time, I'm going to be lenient because you are just new. Thank you. Honorable Mahlaule.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We are very pleased to hear you clarify that the strategic stock of the country and the monies are still with the department. And we're also pleased that you explained the legal processes unfolding in this regard. That is why you would hear the first member diverting from the main question, because you have answered all the questions in this regard. No further questions, Your Honor.
We move to question 4, or you want to respond to him, Honorable Mantashe?
In the case of Name.
The next question is question number 489. Asked to the Minister of Energy. No. Or the Minister of Finance by the Honorable Shibambu. The Honorable, the Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much to the House for this opportunity. The answer to the question is as follows. The person was appointed because the person possessed the requisite skills for the position to be occupied. She's highly qualified for the position. She has extensive knowledge of politics and can read the environment very well, and therefore provides sufficient support to the Minister of Finance. Secondly, the appointment was made in terms of Section 9 of the Public Services Act 1994, read in conjunction with Regulation 66 of the Public Service Regulations of 2016. Regulation 66 authorizes the filling of positions in the office of an executive authority without advertising. The person was appointed as the community outreach officer, which I prefer to call in brackets political secretary, and close brackets. The person is responsible for, amongst others, liaison with the constituency office of the Minister of Finance, which is in Zanin, interacting with communities on the services of the Ministry of Finance, interacting with domestic and international stakeholders on the services of the Ministry of Finance, and support for the Minister on public outreach programs, such as, for example, a work in the district development model. That's the long and short of it, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I'm informed Honorable Mente will take charge of the question asked by Honorable Shibambo. Honorable Mente?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Minister Mboweni, you haven't answered the main part of the question, which is the allegations, serious allegations against Ranjeni Munsami, whom you have appointed in your office. Are you saying those allegations do not mean anything? Are you saying all South Africans who have questionable characters and serious allegations leveled against them must be employed in the state? And what happens when the findings of those allegations are finding them on the wrong side of the law? Number two, is Ranjeni writing a book for you and you have merely placed her in your office for a payroll as a compensation to a book that she is writing for you if she is? Please clarify. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Oh, let me start with the second one, which is very easy, from Honorable Veronica Mente, the National Chairperson of the EFF. Ranjeni Munsami is not writing a book for me. So that is an urban legend created by the EFF for some reason, Chairperson of the EFF. I know you guys create stories. So that's not true. My book is written by a different ghost writer. And in any case, it will only be published when I'm 70 years of age or when I'm dead. So she's not writing a book for me. That's one. Number two, yes, you must never publish books when you are under 70, because there's too many a slip between cup and lip. You can still do many wrong things. Coming to your first question, I know that she has been in the Commission of Inquiry into state capture, and certain allegations have been made against her. I have satisfied myself in terms of the facts before me that until such time that any finding has been done, I don't see. In fact, I've gone through the matter quite systematically. When I was interviewing her for the job, I asked her questions regarding that. And I am satisfied that she can work in the office, highly competent, and be able to do her job very well. If she was going to be found somehow to have committed a wrongdoing, she'll obviously be frog-marched out of my office. But for now, I have no reason not to work with her. She's highly competent. She's highly committed, connected. She knows people who I need for my work, and she's very competent and a very good South African as far as I'm concerned, unless other facts come to my disposal, which at the moment they have not come to my disposal. And people must leave her alone, you know. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Peters.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Minister, the ANC government has made a solemn commitment to fight and defeat corruption. and plug the loopholes that make it possible for those with corrupt intent to misappropriate public resources. Government has also identified the need for comprehensive procurement reforms. What can you say to assure South Africans that National Treasury is doing whatever it can to reduce the perception that corruption is endemic in government, and how much progress has been made with regards to the Public Procurement Bill, which as the ANC, we believe will also contribute to this effort to defeat corruption and empower small, Black, women, youth, and people with disability-owned businesses in a legitimate way. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister.
You know, corruption is a very serious global issue. And I think we have to do all we can to fight corruption. And corruption sometimes manifests itself in what might look like small ways. When people receive favors for which are not due to them, that's corruption. When people go on holiday with people who might have an interest in the conversation, which might lead to a benefit or the creation of an idea towards a business with the state, that's corruption. There are many other forms of corruption, big and small. And therefore, we have to commit ourselves to fighting against that at all costs, at every level, at the municipal level, at the provincial level, at the water board, at SANRAL, everywhere. We must fight against corruption at PRASA, at South African Airways, at South African Technical Services, and so on. So I think it's a huge battle, and we have to win this one. Otherwise, the struggle for freedom would have been for nothing. And therefore, the state being a major player in the economy, in the procurement system, has to make sure that corruption is uprooted in the whole procurement system. The reason we put forth the draft bill on procurement for public comment, we want South Africans to contribute towards the strengthening of the bill, such that when we put it in place, it must be strong enough. Let me just give you one little indication. The state is the main procurer of goods and services. The state should not be paying more for those goods and services, should be paying less, actually, using its purchasing power to lower the prices. This notion that because it's a government contract, the price must be higher, must come to an end. That's not right. So therefore, Honorable Member, I thank you for your question. And I think when the bill comes before Parliament, I think Parliament will as well further add teeth and strength to the bill. But I thank you very much for the question. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Helus.
Minister, you are the primary guardian and custodian of the integrity of the National Treasury. The Treasury must set the example for the whole government and the whole country in integrity and probity and scrupulousness. And I think that you should have delayed this appointment until such time as the whiff of state capture was removed completely from Mrs. Munusamy, and that you should consider reversing it until that time. But my specific question to you, you've just said that you went into it in quite a lot of detail and asked a lot of questions. Mrs. Munusamy's explanation is that she didn't know that 153,000 Rand was paid into her account and didn't ask any questions about it. So you've gone into this in detail. Can you please tell us, take us into your confidence, how it is that she did not know that, and how is that a plausible explanation for her story of what happened in these state capture allegations? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. And I should make it very clear that having discussed this matter with her and having been satisfied about her answers, I had no doubt whatsoever that from what she told me, and I have no reason to believe that she lied to me at all, that the matters will be cleared before the commission on the basis of the information I have now. I'm quite convinced that the matters will be cleared. I don't want to interfere with the commission. I don't want to say anything which the commission might found to have interfered with their work at all. But I'm satisfied as I speak now. I'm satisfied that she is indeed a qualified and good person to work in this capacity. You know, Kimutu Liena, you know, she's also a person, and let's give her time to work. And Mrs. Veronica Mente from the EFF talked about allegations and so on and so forth. You know, if we worked on that basis, a number of members of the EFF should not be in parliament, actually, because there are accusations against them about VBS. They shouldn't be there. So you have to be very careful about how you phrase matters like this and how you deal with issues like this. You must be very careful.
On a point of order, Chair.
Oh.
Thank you, Honorable Mente. What's your point of order?
Members of EFF in Parliament never went to the State Capture Commission and never had money in their accounts that
Your
they
point
used to
of
know about.
Honorable.
No, the minister must not mislead the House.
We were never withdraw. Minister must withdraw.
The
Honorable.
The minister must
not a point of debate. Can we continue, Honorable Sheikh Imam?
No,
Thank
Chairperson.
you. Thank you, House
Honorable
Chairperson. Thank you, House Chairperson. Minister, in the 6.5 years that I am a member of Parliament, this is the most absurd question that I've got from Honorable Shivambu. With serious allegations of theft from VBS Bank leveled against him, he still holds important positions in the Finance Committee, and he thinks it is okay.
On a point of order, Chair. On a point of order, Chair.
Are you satisfied, Minister?
On a point of order, Chair.
That Ranjini
On a
Munsami
point of order, Chair.
is fit for purpose and that she
On a
will
point of order, Chair.
Honorable Ntangwini, Honorable Mente, I've given the opportunity to Honorable Sheikh Imam, and I will consider your point of order. Can you speak, Honorable Sheikh, and you are breaking?
Order is being called. You need to adhere to it at that time. We can't finish. We can't finish. There is the rules. We have called a point of order.
Honorable Member, I couldn't even hear Honorable Sheikh Imam because you were just shouting. So please allow me to hear so that I can respond to your point of order. And because he has been breaking, can I allow you, Honorable Sheikh Imam, to finish your question?
Thank you. Like I said, it's the most absurd question coming from Honorable Shivambu. You know, with all the serious allegations of looting and drinking the blood of the poorest of the poor and the black, and holding senior positions. Most
on a point of order, Chair.
No,
on a point of order.
That is being spoken by this man.
Satisfied that she would be able to
pure nonsense that he's talking about this
by virtue of the allegation against
on a point of order, Chair.
Point of order,
it's
Chairperson.
Wrong. It's wrong what you are doing. It's wrong.
On a point of order, Chairperson.
Person to insult us like that. No, this charlatan must stop.
Honorable Mentor, you are not going to take your point of order.
Can you take my point of order, Chairperson?
Are you taking what, Honorable? Because she was the first to ask. Okay, are you going? Are you in your space?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable. What's your point of order?
The point of order is that there is no commission of inquiry or any law enforcement agency that has ever put an allegation against me
for any wrongdoing. No way. So like to then elevate some newspaper nonsense and make it a parliamentary discussion is completely out of order. So this Sheikh is out of order. You must tell him to withdraw that, because if he has got an allegation, he must make a substantial motion. That is how parliament works. He's out of order. He's a suspended member of NFP who is illegally in parliament. You must tell him to withdraw now.
Know what you are saying, and I'm going to rule on it.
It's illegal. It's expelled, that thing.
Honorable Mauta, please. Honorable members, if you are going to throw allegations on members of this House, you need to do it on a substantive motion. I'm cautioning. Honorable Minister of Finance,
Chairperson.
What is it, Honorable Shibam? Yes.
The point of order is that he must withdraw what he said now, because he made an allegation against a member of parliament. That is how it operates. You must instruct him to withdraw. He must withdraw in the same way he's going to be withdrawn as a member of parliament by the party that has expelled him for theft of money of the NFP. You must tell him to withdraw now.
Point of order, Chair.
Shibambu, come to you, member. Honorable Shibambu, I've ruled on this matter. I have cautioned Mr. Sheikh Imam that if he has to bring any allegations against any member of this House, he has to do it on a substantive motion, and that is my ruling, and that is where it will end.
But on a point of order, Chair, your rulings is not consistent. Your rulings is not consistent, Chair. On a point of order. Just earlier on, you have ruled on Swart to withdraw. Why can't Sheikh withdraw, Chair? Your rulings is not consistent. Please.
On a point of order, Chair.
If you are not satisfied with my ruling, you know what to do. You continue to do what you are doing now. I will ask IT to remove you. That's your warning.
Please, Chair, let's proceed.
Minister, can you please respond to Honorable Sheikh Imam?
May I rise on a point of order, please?
Honorable member.
Chair, I don't want to dispute your ruling, but it appears to me it's exactly the same when you ruled me out of order and you asked me to withdraw when I made a broad accusation against members of parliament. And it would appear that this is a specific allegation against a member of parliament. And so I would ask you to consider that. Thank you.
Honorable Swart, I hear what you are saying. Here a name was mentioned. And that is why I am saying what I'm ruling the way I am ruling. Thank you very much. Honorable
Chair, on a point of order, Chair.
Honorable Shibambu, I've ruled on this matter and I'm not going back.
But the procedure is that the member who has stolen money of the NFP and is expelled from the NFP, he must withdraw that. Where is the consistency? Why is he not withdrawing?
Point of order.
I'm not taking a point of order because you are also defaulting on the rules. You are accusing Honorable Sheikh of having stolen money. Substantive motion to my ruling. You must also submit a substantive motion. Thank you very much. If you continue in that way, I'm going to ask IT to remove you from this. I'm now warning. It was only Honorable Nkangwini that I warned. I'm warning you now. Thank you. Honorable Minister, were you able to hear the question from Honorable Sheikh Imam, because I'm not allowing him, his time has expired?
If I heard him correctly, Madam Chair, I think he was making a statement. And therefore, he was expressing his own view as an honorable member of parliament. But as far as a substantive matter on the question is concerned, I think I have answered to the best of my abilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We move to question 463. Asked to the Minister of Environmental Affairs, Forestry and Fisheries by the Honorable Modise. Question 463, Honorable Minister.
Okay. Honourable Member, the Department has initiated a mass public employment program with the objective of assisting with the economic recovery through employment creation. The Department is also driving a campaign geared towards a cleaner South Africa, which is free of litter and illegal dumping. This will be achieved through drawing beneficiaries, which will include women and youth, from across the country, with 60 participants identified per local municipality and 120 participants per metropolitan municipality. There will be provision of tools of trade, as well as personal protective equipment, and the program overall will employ over 13,000 women and youth. In addition, the department has recently obtained cabinet approval for the National Waste Management Strategy, which provides a platform for collaborative implementation of key waste management interventions in partnership with the private sector and civil society. This strategy has a key role for small and medium enterprises that will create jobs, while at the same time promoting waste minimization, efficient and effective waste services, and awareness raising and compliance monitoring and enforcement. We are currently finalizing extended producer responsibility schemes in the following areas: paper and packaging, lighting, electrical and electronic equipment. And these schemes, which have been issued in terms of Section 18 of the Waste Management Act, will set up private-public partnerships that will work in the waste value chain through reduction, reuse, recycling, and recovery of waste. We're enabling this through creating an environment with policy interventions that are provided for in the National Waste Management Act, as well as the National Waste Management Strategy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Modise.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Minister, South Africa imports huge tons of iron and steel, approximately about 1.14 billion US dollars, which is almost 20 billion worth of steel and iron that was imported in 2019. Can the minister please tell us how the department will use recycling, especially metal recycling, to reduce our total reliance in imported steel and iron while creating job opportunities for our million jobless citizens? Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable the Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair. Yes, at the moment, the State of Waste report indicates, Honourable Modise, that waste metals currently have a very high recycling rate, which is estimated to be at about 80%. And we definitely, in this particular area, don't see the kind of stockpiling that we see with regard to plastics, waste tires, and so forth. Through the International Trade Administration Commission, we've introduced a price preference system to improve access to affordable scrap metal that is going to be recycled for domestic steel and other metal producing industries. And these key changes include a 10% discount where domestic consumers are located in inland provinces and scrap metal is located at the coast to account for transport costs. The right for domestic consumers to weigh and inspect materials to ascertain that the materials delivered are of the same quality, type, and weight as agreed upon, and the right to compensation if this turns out not to be the case. Increased surveillance by ITAC to ensure that materials comply with the approved permit, including the right to take legal action for any misrepresentation. And finally, ensuring that scrap dealers have adequate facilities for the access, loading, and weighing of scrap. So, in our view, these amendments definitely will help to improve domestic consumers' access to affordable scrap metal and address concerns raised by the industry in the interim period. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is the Honorable Deputy Speaker on the platform?
Yes, I am, Madam Chair. I'm here.
I will call Ms. Winkler and then you will take over. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honorable Minister, considering that millions of South Africans are unemployed and we face a huge waste management crisis in this country across many landfill sites, how many waste picker cooperatives have been assisted by your department and meaningfully engaged into waste management programs, considering that so many municipalities just lack the political will, the resources, or the capability to assist these waste picking cooperatives? Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Winkler, I think you're talking about a very important issue, which is the fact that waste management is a responsibility of all three levels of government. And unless there is an effective waste management process at local government level, we're not going to achieve our targets in terms of waste diversion or in terms of small enterprise creation. It is for this reason that the new waste management strategy is prioritizing support to local authorities. And we need, for starters, to be looking at the question of appropriate infrastructure for depositing waste and for separation of waste, either at the landfill itself or at source. We need to make sure that the improvements we have generated with National Treasury, whereby current infrastructure money can now be used for collection services, we need to make sure that that policy change is actually implemented so that we can effect household collection and hopefully household separation at source. Because I'm sure you would agree that waste, so that when consumers throw away waste that can be recycled, they manage that waste in an appropriate manner. Offhand, I can't give you the figures for the number of cooperatives that would have been established by local government. I think that would take considerable time and effort to collect. But I would agree with you that that is where we have to focus our efforts if we want the system to work appropriately. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Paulson.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'll be taking the follow-up question.
Oh, is that? Okay, is that Honorable Chiro?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. Minister, on the 10th of July 2020, a representative of the Chief Directorate, General Waste and Municipal Support, DEFF, told the Portfolio Committee on Environment, Forestry and Fisheries that the department was working on a support package that would include a once-off payment based on the poverty guideline, which would be 945 rands per waste picker. Now, among some of the chief positives on lockdown was the gains to the environment with the cleaner air, better waste management practices, and less pollution. My question then to you, Minister, is how will the department's waste management program maintain these gains? And will the program also provide formal employment for waste pickers by working with municipalities and metros who are closer to where these waste pickers are? Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much for the question, Honorable Chairwa. Let me first of all talk about the Section 18 extended producer responsibility process that is in place at the moment. One of the conditions of that process is that those who can successfully set up the recycling schemes have to have a program to formalize micro enterprises working in the sector, and also have to have a program that will enhance the income stream of those who are doing the waste picking or the waste reclaiming. Because unless we have a program that benefits those who are working at the bottom of the chain, we are not in fact going to be providing sustainable livelihoods to people who are currently working in extremely dangerous and extremely vulnerable situations. I think you will see from the public employment program that we've mentioned earlier that we ourselves are trying to bring some of these individuals into the public sector employment process so that we can ensure that they are working under safer conditions, and so that over time we can give them skills development and training and incorporate them into more formal programs. This is very important because the majority of those who are involved in this sector are women and youth, and they are reliant on this form of extremely dangerous work because there are no other alternatives available to them. And unless our focus is on improving their livelihoods, we would have failed in our task. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Singh.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Minister, the COVID-19 global pandemic has been devastating, to say the least, to many citizens from all sectors of our economy. And this also includes many members of our society who existed on the peripherals of formal economy, which means they did not even stand to benefit from any relief funds. Such people include those that earned an income by collecting waste, which they also segregated before selling to recycling traders. Earlier on in the year, Honorable Minister, the KZN Environmental Affairs MEC touched on integrating such pockets of individuals in areas which he identified into the solid waste management systems of municipalities. What developments have taken place in this regard nationwide, and has this idea been discussed at MINMEC level? And further, Honorable Minister, the President spoke about a cleaner municipalities during the first lockdown. What has been done about that program of cleaner municipalities? Thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, former MEC for Environmental Affairs in KwaZulu-Natal. But your questions, you remember, you must ask a single question so that the minister is able to elaborate and giving a lot more. Minister, please answer the former Minister of Environment in KZN, former MEC, Singh.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Singh, I think in my answer to the primary question, I did speak about the public employment programs that we are creating in order to improve the situation with regard to the environment in our local authorities. With regard to the question on our relations with KwaZulu-Natal, we have been working very closely with the city of eThekwini on their buyback centers. What we have been doing there is that we've been supporting some of the waste reclaimers in terms of our public employment program to make sure that they do receive a steady income. We've also been working with the city to try and ensure that we find either private sector donors or government funding to improve the tools of trade For example, introducing bailers, conveyor belts, and so on. And we are currently in one of those centers working with them to try and secure alternative premises where we have a situation where those who are working there are working under very cramped conditions. I think that we are using those relations as pilot programs, and depending on what we learn from those pilot programs, we would then want to further the partnerships that we have with the province in other municipalities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. We now move to question 485. It's asked of the Honorable Minister of Employment and Labor by Honorable S. Zuma. Minister?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Migration for employment is a global phenomenon that has become a mega trend of the 21st century. It's a very complex matter and one of the most topical and controversial issues of our time. It's a very sensitive matter that is of concern to our citizens. It can easily explode into another disaster if not properly managed. We cannot continue to be sensational about that or continue to make reckless statements about it, as it can result into unimaginable huge cost of the country. South Africa tends to attract both documented and undocumented foreign nationals from the continent and other regions because of our perceived political or stable political, social systems and economic resilience. So our weak border management alluding to the volatile situation in the labor market. So migration is a cross-cutting matter that affects almost every department in our country and all spheres of government, national, provincial, and local level. It's for this reason, therefore, that the President has since established a 12-member interministerial committee on migration and employment, which is co-chaired by myself as Minister of Employment and Labor and the Minister of Home Affairs to urgently advise the Cabinet and propose recommendations on migration emergencies and short-term intervention measures, but also to provide insight into the socio-economic challenges faced by the country in dealing with migration and to recommend policy interventions. And also, Chairperson, I must say on the second part, as part of the broader IMC process, we are also considering a number of immediate short-term and medium-term interventions to respond to the immediate issues. And the President will make or will pronounce on these matters as soon as we have tabled those recommendations at the appropriate time. But the Department of Employment and Labor has also initiated a number of policy interventions in relation to this migration and decent employment. This is informed by our employment policy, which we started developing some time back. Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Tulas Nais, Minister of Employment and Labor, thank you. We now request Honorable Zuma.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Minister, are you planning to introduce any policies to enhance and reinforce the existing pieces of legislation to deal with the tension and the conflict that exist in the employment and labor space, where some of South Africans feels that some sectors only recruit foreign nationals at the expense of the South African citizens, even though skills required to perform those duties are abundant here at home, and the domestic unemployment rate is on the constant upward trajectory. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mercy.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and thank you to the Honorable Member for that follow-up question. We are planning to introduce legislative amendments to existing labor legislation to deal with the tensions in the labor market. We have already assembled a team of legal and ILO experts to assist us in translating what we call our draft labor migration policy, which we had into legislative framework, regulations, and maybe directives or guidelines to provide for introduction of quotas on the number of foreign nationals that can be employed and prohibitions of employment or to trade in certain sectors of our economy. Some aspects may be outside of our mandate, and in those instances, we will rely on the cabinet directive, our sister departments, and also the social partners at NECLEC and the various parliamentary committees to assist. But what we need to be careful of, we have to respect the issues of the human rights. We have to respect also the various international labor conventions which we are part of, and also the rights in the whole UN system. It's going to be very important. So it needs a balancing act when we are dealing with this particular matter.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Let's give the opportunity to Honorable Kadu for the second supplementary question.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, you've said on record that the government is looking at regulations to limit the employment of foreign nationals in certain sectors, particularly in the road and freight sectors, tourism and hospitality, and agriculture and farming. And now you've mentioned the prospect of quotas. Added to this, the draft Employment Equity Amendment Bill empowers you to set racial employment targets in key sectors. So my question to you, Minister, is, are you in favor of job reservation? And don't these apartheid-like interventions by the state undermine the constitutional right, freedom of trade, occupation, and profession?
Honorable Minister.
We are not going to undermine the constitutional rights. That is why I've said we will need to balance this with the Constitution and also what we call our obligations at an international level. But I think that it's a fact that our Constitution does, to a certain extent, allows for positive discrimination. And that has been a very big debate in this country. But it has to be done in a proper and a careful way. So positive discrimination and affirmative action is constitutional in this particular country. So as we are also dealing with this matter in relation to the foreigners, we have to craft it in a very careful way to ensure that we are not violating rights in the Constitution.
Thank you. Honorable Mishwe.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Minister, there are instances where foreign nationals who are legal in the country would be employed because of their scarce skills. With time, the employer would leave the running of the business with the efficient individual. Now, obviously, when members of the community see that, some of them do object. My question is, how will your department inform local complainants that employed documented foreign nationals with scarce skills have a legal right to their employment and should be allowed to do their work? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. I think, Honorable Rev Mishwe, this issue also needs mass conscientization, the mass education of our people. And you're talking about the scarce skills, but we must be able to show to our people that when we bring in people outside, indeed, it's a real scarce skill which cannot be available in the country. The danger is that some of the employers, even at the low levels, where you have low-level skills, they go and take the people from outside just in order to exploit the desperate situation and the cheap labor. That has been one of the most explosive areas. And this matter, I think, all that it needs, it's going to need e-education and a conversation with our people. That's why we must go to our people and indicate to them, this is the line which we're taking. This is what informs this particular line. That's what I can say.
Thank you very much. The next question, 466, has been asked.
Honorable Deputy
Yes,
Speaker,
Honorable.
You had only 3 follow-up questions. By mistake, you skipped to Honorable Ntlangwini.
Can I
Oh,
please
how
ask
could I
my
do that?
question?
You are absolutely, this is your turn. My apologies to you, Honorable Ntlangwini.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much, Deputy Speaker. Please never make that mistake again. Maybe perhaps you will cover next time.
Honorable Ntlangwini.
Minister, the reality we are facing in this country is your inability as the department to monitor and punish the super exploitation of workers by white employers. We know for a fact that these employers break the law to employ our siblings from other African nations in order to exploit them and not pay them sufficient living wage and force them to work absorbed hours. It is your failure to regulate these employers that causes these problems. Why have you not strongly communicated to the South African public that there are no foreign nationals who are taking South African jobs, but rather that it is the white employers in the retail, entertainment, and transport sectors that are abusing African nationals? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Ntlangwini. For the first time on the first part, or on the second part, I agree with you. The issue which we are facing, it's not just the foreign nationals. The issue we are facing is the employers who are exploiting the cheap labor and exploiting the desperate workers who are displaced because of political instability where they are coming from and economic collapse in the countries where some of them are coming from. This is a matter which we are dealing with, but we must accept that the scope is very huge when we're talking about or comparing it with our inspectors who have to deal with this particular matter. In some instances, we are dealing with the matter. In some, we are not able to deal with the matter. But there's another element of people bringing illegal immigrants through human trafficking. So it's not just a departmental issue. It's a multi-departmental issue where we have to involve the police, where we have to involve the Home Affairs and some of the departments in dealing with this particular matter. But I think you are correct to say, to an extent, it is those who want to exploit the desperate people as cheap labor and even deny them what we would call the rights which they are supposed to enjoy as the workers. And it's a matter which is in our program to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is 466. I had already jumped to it. The question is asked by Honorable Tape to the Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. Hayi-ke Minister Didiz uyafukuza namhlanje.
Siyafukuza ngempela. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and thanks to Honorable Member Hlape on the question that we have asked. I must indicate that COVID-19 on the agriculture sector in South Africa, as well as in the continent, did have an impact, particularly when you look at the African continent, where some of the countries are dependent on the import of foodstuffs from other countries. There were some disruptions in the beginning. And I would like to appreciate that as the African Union, together with the Food and Agricultural Organization, on the 16th of April, we had a meeting of the ministers of agriculture in the continent to look at how we can intervene to ensure that the many shutdowns, or rather lockdowns, that have been put in a number of countries facilitate the movement of goods. In our own country, I must say that the early interventions of government in ensuring that agriculture remains the sector that is open even under level 5 did enable us to deal with the issues of food insecurity, but also our neighbors, because we never stopped opening the borders for the movement of foodstuff and essential goods to, which therefore was helpful. I must also say that the intervention of government in ensuring that smallholder farmers and subsistence farmers are assisted with the intervention that was made to be able to continue to produce was also commendable. Allowing our farmers to continue to harvest even during that period enabled us to be able to ensure that no losses, particularly on post-harvesting, are experienced. So all of these interventions did put us in a better state. However, it's important for me to also indicate that there were indeed negative impacts, particularly on those producers that their markets is our hotel industry, restaurant, and others, who, because of the closure of those sectors of our economy, were not able to actually market their goods. So what one can say is that in terms of our production systems and food security in general, we were in a better position, and that has been evidenced by the figures in terms of our GDP that we've seen in Q2. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Ousmane Getsi Tlhapi, Honorable Member.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, Honorable Minister. It is indeed reassuring to know that we are still food secured as a country, despite COVID. Now, the determinants of food security does not only include availability and affordability. They also include accessibility and food utilization. Can the minister now explain to the House the importance of household and community gardens in ensuring and guaranteeing our food security program? And what is the level of appreciation with regards to their importance in sustenance farming? Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker, as well as Honorable Hlape and honorable members. Indeed, it's important for us to appreciate that food security is not only about availability, not only about access, but it's also about sustainability. And in this instance, household security, food security, plays a very important role. And I think it is important, as we've seen during the COVID-19, that those who are able to produce, even if not all commodities for themselves, find that they had better opportunities for sustenance in terms of food security. And it is for that reason that working with the Department of Social Development in particular, we are looking at best ways in which we can intervene, not only in terms of your food banks, ensuring that those who are vulnerable may have accessibility to food, but also to encourage those who have got small pieces in their backyards, in their verandas, and anywhere else where they can be able to have access to land to produce food for themselves. It is in that regard that the intervention that has been made, particularly by the president, to assist those who are at a subsistence level becomes important to ensure that we can create a safety net, but also retain self-employment for those producers at the subsistence level. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next is Honorable Masipa.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Minister, South African meat industry remain unable to enter the EU market. Since 2010, South Africa did not export a single ton to the EU market. An estimated 26 million livestock is stolen annually in this country. The meat of this stolen livestock end in our chain store. Also, South Africa struggles with foot and mouth disease. Traceability, the lack of certificate of ownership, and fewer inspectors are some of the problems that the industry is faced with. Honorable Minister, what is the department doing to ensure, one, that these challenges are addressed in order for SA to export their meat to the EU market, and two, that foot and mouth disease affecting small part of this country does not stop export of meat products? Thank you, Minister.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. The other issues that have been raised by Honorable Sipa, I take it they were observations because I don't think those were questions. And some of them, I'm sure it would be good to engage with them to have a better appreciation of how stolen meat from stock theft end up in our chain stores. I'm not sure about that, and I wouldn't like to comment about allegations that one does not have proof of. But with regards to the issue of foot and mouth and how we are maintaining our animal health as a country, that's one of our priorities. We have actually increased our veterinary capacity, but also working with the MECs of agriculture in the various provinces and MECs of economic development to ensure that they support us in the surveillance as well as the maintenance of our red zone, as we know that South Africa does have foot and mouth SA type 1 and type 2 in areas bordering the Kruger Park, as well as in the areas of Northern Natal, particularly around Ingwavuma areas. So what is important is how do we maintain those red line zones so that we can create a buffer between the buffaloes in the parks as well as the livestock in particular. One of the things that we've done working with the OIE is to actually have a compartmentalization process as well as between the red line and where the communities are, to have an area that can be protected and allow our farmers to vaccinate so that they can protect against foot and mouth. We are working with the red meat industry, fortunately, to ensure that such is maintained. But it's also important that our farmers, on an ongoing basis, vaccinate their animals at the prescribed time where they have to deal with various animal health issues. Secondly, it's also important that even when farmers, particularly commercial farmers, have got their own private vets, they actually work closely with the state veterinarians so that we can pick up diseases on time. As you know, that the problem that we had in Limpopo last year emanated from one of the auctions in the commercial farms and then spread out. So it's important to make sure that when we pick up any, disease or a condition that we're not aware of, particularly those of us who are farming with livestock, we report immediately to the veterinarian so that immediate diagnosis and treatment can be given on time and protect the head of a number of our communities, as well as the export of our products to the international as well as the local market. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Mundredi.
Ke a leboga, Tate. Minister, the the agricultural economist has indicated that the agriculture in the country has been resilient despite the lockdown regulations, as work in various farms continued. As a result, the sector will have its second largest grain harvest in the 1920 season, for instance. For instance, it is, however, your big and fully capitalized farmers who were able to withstand the COVID storm. The poorly capitalized smallholders who are predominantly black, have been left out and dry. What interventions will you be making to ensure that smallholder farmers are provided with the necessary technical and financial support to be able to contribute meaningfully towards the reconstruction of the agriculture of the agricultural sector post COVID-19?
Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you very much.
How smile.
I've seen you smiling.
Can I get a minister, please?
Thank you very much. I'm not sure who was smiling than myself.
Don't worry, Madam Minister. Muntedi wa yitsi bua ka yena.
Honorable Montreal was, because he knows very well that as part of the interventions of government dealing with the impact of COVID-19 in the agricultural sector, we prioritize smallholder farmers in terms of the support that was given during that period, and will continue to do so, not only smallholder farmers, even though they are the most vulnerable, but to the entirety of the farm sector, because food security for the country is important, and therefore we need to support all of those who are producers, be they big or small. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Tring.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Minister, it is well known that despite South Africa having one of the harshest lockdowns in the world, which decimated most other sectors, the agricultural sector performed extremely well nonetheless. What practical steps has your department taken to enhance and protect our food security, ensuring that this productive sector is not going to be used as a racial or political football? And do you agree that any call for the burning of farms is incitement to cause harm, threatens food security of our country, and is tantamount to treason and should be treated as such? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Sorry, before the Honorable Minister, Deputy Speaker, there is a point of order from the House.
Yes, what's the point of order?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I wanted to ask, is Honorable Tring wearing a gown?
No, that's not a point of order. No, that's not a point of order. Go ahead, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Tring.
No, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, I've worn this to Parliament before and received lots of comments. So I think that the member obviously has not seen me wearing the shirt to Parliament. Thank you.
Yeah, often enough. He's impressed. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Indeed, we are getting into the line of question. And as the Minister of Agriculture, I must say that I'm very impressed because our garments are made out of cotton and some are made out of wool, which are all agricultural commodities. So those who then process and deal with the textile, like Honorable Patel, I'm sure will be impressed about this debate about the observations on the dress code of members. With regards to the issue that Honorable Tring has raised, as I speak, we are actually in conversation with agriculture and agribusiness entrepreneurs, both small and big, black and white, on mapping out the agriculture and agricultural sector plan, to the recovery, what we will do to make sure that we retain the sector as an important economic sector in our country. So those discussions are looking at how we expand at scale, how we become inclusive, what forms of support is needed to actually make sure that our producers can produce effectively. Access to finance, access to markets are other issues that we're looking at, and also training and capacity building to make sure that our new entrants who come into the space are actually enabled to actually participate and understand this industry as they must. So there are plans in place to make sure that we can have the agricultural sector that is inclusive and is prosperous. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is 473. It's been asked by Honorable Winkler to the Minister of Environmental Affairs, Forestry and Fisheries. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Winkler, I have met with Minister Didiza, and I have said to her that we don't support the commercial sale of lion meat for human consumption. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Honorable Winkler, I think it should be you. I see Honorable Paulson here.
It's me. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Yes,
Honorable
go ahead.
Winkler.
Yes,
thank you
go
so
ahead.
much. And thank you to the Honorable Minister Creasy. Thank you for your response. I did have a follow-up, and I'm not sure if that's redundant, but I'm going to go ahead nonetheless. How do you reconcile the impending legal sale of lion meat for human and animal consumption should the amendment to Schedule 1 of the Meat Safety Act go ahead with the High Court ruling of Judge Jody Collipin, which says that any wildlife legislation that is enacted needs to take into consideration the welfare of the said animals involved. And this is especially in light of the numerous welfare incidents that have been revealed in the captive predator breeding industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
It's not reconcilable. Thank you.
Brief and straight. Honorable Paulson.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'll be taking the follow-up question for Honorable Paulson, please.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
Thank you. The schedule, Minister, does not specifically include lion meat, but the Act does read as follows, open quote, this Act also applies to all other species of animals not mentioned above, including birds, fish, and reptiles that may be slaughtered as food for human and animal consumption. Ellipsis, the schedule includes animals that may be listed as threatened species in accordance with the conservation provisions, and therefore their slaughter for human and animal consumption must be in line with the relevant conservation provisions. Close quote. Currently, Minister, people breed lions for canned hunting. The meat is being consumed, and I doubt that we are ever going to win this battle. We are speaking about an industry of about 4 billion rands per year. So the risk of poaching increases consistently and gradually. My question then to you, Minister, is will the Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries be ready with the relevant conservation provisions, including safety of these animals in state-owned reserves and national parks that will ensure that human greed through poaching does not drive lions into extinction? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Member. At the moment, the lion population in the wild is stable and not threatened in our national parks. Thank you.
Next, Honorable Singh.
Ngiyabonga Sekela Samlomo. Ungqongqoshe udiniwe namhlanje. Ngiyabona ukuthi udiniwe kakhulu. Kodwa Sekela Samlomo, Honorable Minister, thank you for your response and the request made to the Department of Agriculture. And we hope that the Minister of Agriculture takes that particular proposal very, very seriously. Because I think, it would be irresponsible for us to consider extending the list on Schedule 1 as proposed, given that we know that the COVID-19 pandemic resulted from wild animals, and I think all the pandemics, SARS, everybody, and all of them came from bats and other wildlife animals. So would you continue putting the pressure on the Minister of Agriculture that during this time here, we'd rather err on the side of caution and not allow the sale of wildlife meat products to the market? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Honourable Singh, I'm not angry today. I just don't like silly questions. But your question is sensible. And let me say that we have an excellent relationship with our sister department. We have discussed the issue of the contradiction between these proposed regulations and the TOPS regulations. We've also discussed the risks of zoonotic diseases. We have a number of working groups, and I'm sure that through those processes, we will find each other. Thank you very much.
The last supplementary question is by Honorable Mbata. Honorable Mbata.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The follow-up question reads like this. The Meat Safety Act will affect how Africans, indigenous society prepare their meat for various traditional activities and customs. The Meat Safety Act will address many of the concerns raised around meat safety, such as listeriosis. What is the impact on our economy associated with lack of meat safety standards and regulations, and how will the Meat Safety Act ensure the development of meat industry within our most underdeveloped townships? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
I suppose I'm not really qualified to answer that. But my understanding is that the Act primarily deals with the question of safety of domesticated animals for human consumption and endeavors to deal with the conditions under which those animals are slaughtered so that human beings are not put at risk. As I say, I'm not really qualified to answer, but what I do know from work that was done in my province of origin in Gauteng is that when it comes to traditional ceremonies and the like, it's important that there are outreach programs that work with communities on how slaughtering takes place and how to ensure safety under those conditions, and that regulations alone are not going to manage that situation effectively if there aren't suitable outreach programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable, what's the next question? Okay. The next question is 484. It's been asked by Honorable Matthias to the Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Before I answer Honorable Matthias, I just want to thank my colleague, Minister Chrissy. She was very competent in answering that question. She understands the Meat Safety Act very well. Hence, she's engaged us on the issue of lion meat, and we do indeed appreciate the concerns that they've raised, and we're going to address them. To the question of Honorable Matthias in respect of the Babanango land restitution claim in Ulundi local municipality in KwaZulu-Natal, I think it's important for me to give the background to this land claim so that we can have an appreciation of the complexities around it. The Mqabweni land claim was lodged by Mr. Izet Buteles in December 1998 in compliance with Section 11, Subsection 1 and 2, Subsection 1 of the Restitution of Land Rights Act 22 of 1994 as amended. A government gazette notice was issued in February 2005 stating that a land claim has been instituted in Babanango, inviting those who have interest to make their submission. The total land under claim is 30,321 hectares, and 194 claimants who came forth were verified. Upon completion of the research process in accordance with the Act, the claim was settled in phases amounting to a total of 24,000 hectares. Phase 1, the acquisition of 10,000 hectares was done in March 2007. Phase 2, the acquisition was done in 2007 September, while the first one was in March 2007. And phase 3 acquisition was done in August 2011. The commission at the time dealt with individuals who had been dispossessed of their rights in land around Babanango under the claim which was lodged by Mr. Eric Buteles on behalf of individual families who were affected by forced removals in Babanango. Subsequent to the settlement of this claim, Babanango or Mqabweni land claim as it is known, other claims were lodged under Mr. Buteles, which included Mr. Kabela. A counterclaimant was lodged by Mr. Zungu, which affected the 52 farms for 52 different communities on the already settled claim in the entire district of Babanango, which was gazetted in December 2019. 16 of the 52 farms have been restored to the Mqabweni community. Objections were submitted from Mqabweni, KwaZikongwana, and Kangato communities. Upon receipt of the complaint through the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Legislature, the Minister and Deputy Minister Skwatsha held discussion with the legislature, including government development entities under the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries, to develop a program of action in attending to these challenges that were raised. One of the agreed action was for the Commission on Restitution of Land Rights to undertake an investigation and embark on a consultative process with all affected claimants. An interim coordinating forum was established to facilitate this process. Ministers of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, as well as Environment, Fisheries, Forestry and Fisheries, met to discuss these challenges and agreed on a program of action which included engaging with the provincial legislature, as well as the provincial government and its agencies, settled claimants, as well as the new claimants and other relevant stakeholders, particularly that there are investors already who are developing a game farm in that area. The 16 farms that are under claim as lodged by Mr. Zungu has been referred to the Land Claims Court in accordance with the provisions of the Restitution Land Rights Act. The Land Court is the only body that can amend or change any previously settled claim based on the evidence before it. So the matter is being attended to with all its complexities. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Matias.
Ke ka kopo ke Montwedi ntate.
Okay, ntate. Tswela pele ntate Montwedi.
Ke a leboga. Minister, I hear you are saying there's a planned program on intervening on that issue of Babanango. We have written to you about this subject before, and as we speak, we have community members whose land has been taken away from them through a trust not known to the very same community members, a trust that is only recognized by your department, with claimants not knowing what role is this trust playing there. Now, we have a farm in Gauteng, Klipkop farm in Gauteng. We've got a portion of Grootvlei in Mpumalanga, and many other farms that we have restored to the communities. But people come and impose themselves and take this land away from them. Now, Minister, why have you not taken the lead to go and meet with the Babanango, the affected communities? Because you meeting with the KZN legislature will not solve anything because the message is not going down to beneficiaries that are actually in pain. Why have you not went to meet with the Babanango community and resolve the matter? And why have you only left this matter in the hands of the provincial government, despite their glaring failure to deal with issues raised by the Babanango community and many other communities in the country, because your provincial departments have proven to not be incapable of assisting farmers where such situations arise.
Thank you. Minister?
Thank you very much. I think Honorable Twedi is clouding issues. And he's not correctly reflecting on the Babanango matter. On the Babanango matter, and I think it's important, Chair, I'm sorry, I might take over 2 minutes. You had a claim lodged by Mr. Ptilis, and another one lodged by Zungu. And these communities were staying on the same area. But the other ones of Zungu wanted to lodge a jurisdictional claim, if I were to call it that way. And in the process, it was clear that the Zungu claim did not meet in terms of the legislation, the requirements. The members of the community who had lodged under Zungu agreed to be part of the land claim of Mkakwini, which is the same area, because their land rights would have been addressed. And they were addressed. And I think it's important for us to realize that when people were moved and the consolidations of farms happened, you would find that a farm belonging to Mr. Fanikel, you had the community Awamsane, Neyagwa Titiza on the same piece of land, which is now a combined territorial, space. And in that claim, you can't cut it in two. And in that, discussion, members of the community at the time agreed with the settlement process. What is happening now is that those members who are part of those who lodged their claim under Zungu are now saying they don't want to be part of the Mkakwini Trust. So it's not somebody who have come and imposed themselves. And that is why we are saying to unravel that claim in terms of the Restitution Act, you have to go to the Land Claims Court and state the matter. So the forum has been working on this. I am not sure the physical visit of the minister or the deputy minister will solve anything. The processes by the Land Claims Court working with all other relevant stakeholders have actually come to this determination. And I think that's the process that all of us must wait for, of this unbundling, which must be dictated to by the courts. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Let's give Honorable Twete an opportunity. Honorable Busi Twete in the House.
She's not available. I can maybe do a follow-up.
Oh, she's no. Who's that? Who's saying? Who wants to take it up? Chief Whip, you have to intervene. Who's taking over from Honorable Busi Twete?
Honorable Jones will be taking the follow-up question, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the response. Can the Minister please explain what the department will do in ensuring that there is a greater cooperation and productivity amongst various beneficiaries of the land restitution programs? And how will the department in future ensure the provision of skills and training for beneficiaries of our land reform programs? Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Though this is not a specific matter on the Babanango issue, it's general, and I think it's important. What is the department doing in terms of post-settlement support to those who have been given land? In terms of the Restitution Act, Land Rights Act rather, you've got Section 42C, which allows the minister to give resources towards post-settlement support, which we've been giving. And we've been successful in certain instances while there has been difficulty in others. And the difficulties has not been because there is no support given, has been tensions amongst communities, either through the CPA executives who sometimes take decisions contrary or without consulting the broader membership, which then results into stalling the process of utilizing the land productively. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Steyn, this is your chance.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Minister, since you have broadened your answer to the previous sweetheart question, I'm now going to broaden my question to you by saying what is happening in the Babanang claim has been happening on a lot of land claims. And you know, Minister, that the main reason for that is because the department has been clustering certain communities together. When they have claimed certain sections and parts to make it easier for the department, they've just thrown all the communities in that area under one claim. And that is the main reason for the infighting that you have just mentioned. Minister, that is also one of the reasons why the Democratic Alliance is against reopening the land claims process, because we know in certain areas communities will claim land that was now already given to other communities in a certain area, because sometimes they were not even the original claimants or the correct claimants of this land. So, Minister, what would your department do to ensure that all these areas where there are currently claimants in court to fight between different sections of land, because your department has just clustered them all together under one claim, what will you do to solve all of that? Thank you, Minister, because that will end a lot of the 8,000 claims that's still outstanding.
Okay, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. Honorable Steyn, you've taken liberty to expand the question, and I'm willing to answer it. But I think it's also not correct, or rather factual, the statement you are making that department decided to cluster claim to make it easy for itself. As I've explained in the Babanango case, there were engagements between claimants who, for one reason or the other, have claimed pieces of land, even though in terms of the extent, those parts of farms were not the same. And it had been through agreements where communities have reflected on the matter through engagement with the Land Claims Commission and agreed to the consolidation of their claims. Yes, there are times where, you know, people, as any situation evolves, they change their minds. And they said, we don't think we can actually work together in this space. How do we unbundle? And the department has been attending to those matters. Where necessary, court in terms of the act, which I'm sure you know it as the member of the committee, what it states about the powers of the Regional Land Claims Commissioner and National Land Claims Commissioner in respect of their decisions and how those decisions can be reversed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, the next and last supplementary question on this question is by Ungozi Tebekur. Baba.
Angibonge Sekela Somlomo. Honorable Minister, KwaZulu-Natal has the largest number of land claims backlog, sitting at 3,415 outstanding land claims. The current challenge out of this, Honorable Minister, is that you find now the land that was claimed and gazetted have now been leased to certain individuals, certain farmers, by the officials. What is the position of the department with regards to leasing of the land that has already been gazetted as a claimed land? What's your position, your take, Minister, on that?
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. The issue that Honorable Tabekulu is raising is an allegation, because I don't think it has been brought to me formally to say this officials has done this. I think we can investigate and check. But in an instance where a land has been claimed and has been gazetted, the people who are already on that land pay agreement with the claimants that the person can continue until the claim is resolved. So it has been happening, and it does happen, because it is until a claim has been settled that the ownership changes to the claimants as opposed to the original owner. So if there are matters where a claim has been concluded and then the officials lease it, it wouldn't be in accordance with the procedures and rules that we have to follow. So we would appreciate if Inkosi Tabekulu can actually highlight what those instances are, and would follow it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. The next question is 464, asked by Honorable Faku to the Minister of Communication. Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Deputy Speaker, and thank you to Honorable Faku for the question that she asked. And of course, the process to license spectrum is led by ICASA, which is our authority. Indeed, they've issued the invitations to apply, which comes to an end in October 2020. And once that happened, again, if you read the invitation to apply in it, they have aimed to promote the broad-based Black economic empowerment with particular attention to the needs of women, opportunities for youth, and challenges for persons with disabilities. The first ITA, as they issued two, the first one has a disqualification criteria where applicants shall be disqualified if they have less than 30% equity ownership by historically disadvantaged persons, or if the company is below a level 4 contributor, which is the BBBE status, in terms of the codes of good practice published in terms of Section 9, subsection 1 of the BBBE Act. The second ITA for the one sets the following mandatory requirement that a minimum of 70% equity ownership will be held by South African citizens. Not less than 30% percentage of equity ownership to be held by persons from historically disadvantaged groups with voting powers. Not less than 50% again of 50% ownership to be held by Black people as defined in Section 1 of the BBBE Act with voting powers again. At least 20% of that must be Black women owned. Further, it must include diversity of ownership to ensure meaningful participation of all entities involved, including the small and medium businesses. The release of more spectrum is intended to reduce the cost to communicate, which should also benefit township and rural communities. The obligations set in the IETA also allow for network deployment, which support outside-in approach that is deployment focused on providing coverage starting from underserved areas of local and metropolitan areas. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now give to Honorable Faku to ask her supplementary question.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for your response. Minister, can you tell us when will the spectrum licensing process be finalized? Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Deputy Speaker and Honorable Faku. Of course, as the authority has indicated, the process after the ITA that I spoke about earlier has 60 days, which closes on the 28th of December 2020. And according to ICASA, as outlined during the issuing of the ITA, the auction of the IMT spectrum is planned for completion no later than the 31st of March 2021. The second ITA for the individual electronic communication network services license, which is meant for one, will close on the 30th of March 2021. There will be following a beauty contest, which will apply in case of one, the winning bidder for the ECN, as for one, will be automatically awarded the spectrum reserved for one. That's it, Honorable Deputy Speaker and Honorable Member. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The second supplementary question is from Honorable Mackenzie. Honorable Mackenzie.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Good afternoon to you. We've repeatedly asked the Minister to state categorically whether the many stories in the media about her husband being involved in the affairs of the department and the entities and tenders issued are true or not. She's consistently denied any wrongdoing and has asked those with evidence of any wrongdoing to go and lay a charge at the SAPS. And we applaud this sentiment and congratulate the Minister for that proposal. The proposed WOAN, the Wireless Open Access Network, that is a point of order, Speaker. Can the Minister control herself on the platform and have at least had the decency and the respect to listen to the question? The proposed thank you, Deputy Speaker. The proposed wireless open access network that's meant to facilitate the entry of historically disadvantaged individuals and provide access to the growing telecommunications sector to the poor and disadvantaged. We raise the issue of influence peddling because the hyenas that are sniffing around and looking for lucrative slice of this WOAN are worlds apart from what could be considered to be truly broad-based economic participation. These salivating beasts are part of a connected political elite. People like the former Communications Department DG, Mr. Jaha, as well as the infamous Mr. Rolls of the self-serving progressive blacks in IT, no one knows where they came from, who are always seen in the media carrying the minister's handbag and providing unqualified support. Given the preponderance of corruption so deeply rotting the soul of our country, my question is a simple one. Can the minister tell South Africa whether she considers influence peddling that favors the connected to be a corrupt activity? And tell South Africans, Minister, especially the always excluded poor, they're always referred to but seldom served, what steps she will take to ensure this corrupt practice doesn't happen in the formation of the WOAN, which by all accounts is simply a vehicle to make the new bloated elite even fatter. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and apologies for earlier. Honourable Mackenzie, as I've told you 25 times, I'm going to say it 1,000 times more as you come and bring the allegations against my husband. I want to repeat.
I'm sorry,
Deputy.
No. Honourable Mackenzie, you were listened to. You will listen to her. You will listen to. You will. Yeah. No. You keep quiet and allow the minister to respond to you. I didn't interrupt you, by the way. Go ahead, Minister.
Honourable Mackenzie, I will tell you this 1,000,000 times. Stop politicking about corruption. If you believe that there are allegations or any acts of evidence around that, go to the law enforcement authorities so that we deal with corruption once and for all. I did for several times inform you that as the ANC government, we're so committed in rooting out corruption, and that also includes myself and my husband if you are affected. I want to tell you that I'm responding for the last time on this, and I won't allow you, Honourable Member, to keep on trying to blackmail me because you have whatever that you have. Stop politicking about the matters that affect the lives of our people and do the right thing as an honourable member. Go and report corruption where you suspect or you have evidence of. Now, coming to the question that you asked, Honourable Member, I just want to highlight one thing. One is meant to address the imbalances of the past. I want to apologize to you upfront that you feel so offended that the people of South Africa who never benefited in the spectrum earlier on must not be given an opportunity. There is nobody who qualifies in the process that is run by the regulator that you appointed as Parliament that will be discriminated simply because you view the person as connected to the ANC or whoever. Now, for the last part, Honourable Mackenzie, you say that one is just an element to enrich the bloated few elite. I understand where you're coming from, Honourable Member. Of course, being part of the elite that took everything from the people of this country, you may feel threatened and you don't believe that the people of this country are well deservedly enjoy the benefits that those ancestors and others that you believe that are entitled to this economic spin-offs that must enjoy. Unfortunately, Honourable Mackenzie, this is a policy and the regulator has made it, and whoever benefits will benefit based on what the authority has defined. And once more, as you are aware, I am the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies. I don't get involved in the process of awarding one or any other spectrum. Please make sure you read the act that you are responsible for in Parliament properly, so that when you speak here, there can be a difference, Honourable Member, from somebody who's involved in the work of communications and also a Member of Parliament that passes law that is very clear in terms of the rules, who must do what and who must not do what. I can answer that question on any other ordinary member of South Africa. But I don't expect that from a member who has been in the Portfolio Committee, who cannot tell the difference of what is the minister's responsibility, what is the authority's responsibility. And again, I will not allow you, Honorable Mackenzie, to undermine the interventions that we are making of ensuring that our people are not left behind in the economic spin-offs that they were deprived of. One is here, and the regulator will apply whatever method, and of course, those qualifying individuals will benefit just like those that benefited. If you believe that those ones that had access to spectrum, unlike the new grouping that we're looking at, it was because they're totally connected. There's nothing I can do. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
It's still deputy. Honorable members, I'm advised that time for questions is finished now that it's even past 18 hours. Thank you very much. The House is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.